Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Glitch Cactus, but you could call me Cactus. And today we have an exciting topic to talk about: the 1 year anniversary of the Cactus Patch, hosted by myself in collaboration with Dapple Productions. It's kind of crazy to think it's been 1 full year, and I know you all might also be shocked if you're an average viewer of the podcast to see my face on the screen. Well, I thought for the 1 year, why not do things just a little bit differently? So, what are we going to discuss today on the podcast? As you see, there's no guest next to me, and that is purely because of the fact that I'm the guest. I thought I'd have a lovely one-on-one with not only you all, but just in general to talk about the podcast, right? How did this podcast come to be? What went into place for it to become a reality? So on the side here on my monitor, I do have, thankfully, questions that I had viewers and friends and those in between ask me in the 2 days leading up to the podcast. Some a little bit goofier than others, but other ones more intriguing. So without further ado, let's get things started. So first things first, the introduction. Who even is Cactus? Who am I? Well, for those who don't know me, hi, my name is Cactus. Besides hosting this podcast, I am a Splatoon content creator and competitive player. I'm currently Division 3 as of this recent Ludi season. I play with a pickup project called Kintsugi with myself, a 96 one-trick player Ichigo, a backline pen/edit player Westy, and our carbon or roller player Nigel. And we have Pixel, a dear friend who cheers us on. Besides that, I also stream actually currently every single day of this year. It's a challenge I made for myself and a goal I wanted to achieve just to see if it was doable. And so far, it's going pretty well. We have streamed every single day of this year except for today so far, which I will probably be doing very soon. Probably once I finish up here. So it is quite an incredible opportunity that I've given myself and I'm able to do. along, of course, with this. Besides that, I mean, that's pretty much all there is for who I am, right? That's what I do. I commentate here and there when I have the opportunity to. Speaking of which, tonight on Splatoon Tourney, I will be commentating at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. And I would say I TO, but I don't. I don't TO. As much as everyone wants to believe that I TO, I do not. I am not a TO. I'm not staff of any tournaments besides maybe a commentator here and there, and of course being able to run this part of the podcast on Dapple's channel. So I do, of course, have the chat over to my side as well of the Twitch stream that we're streaming on right now on Dapple's Twitch channel. And I see actually my teammates right now, Pixel and Nigel, in the chat. So hello to both of you and anyone else who might be here. So how did I get into Splatoon? How did I fall in love with this game and get to where I am now? Well, it's actually kind of a funny story. 2017, about a little late to summertime, I had been working on my first job ever and had saved up just enough for a Nintendo Switch. Really excited, but I had no games. So I had asked an older sibling of mine, what game should I get? Splatoon 2 or ARMS? And yeah, I have thankfully been swayed into playing Splatoon. I see either Alice or Pinky or someone else on the Dapple account just editing some of the fun stuff, so I appreciate you so much. I love all of you so much. And from there, the rest is history. I started playing Splatoon 2. I did not like motion controls. I hated motion controls. Wasn't a fan. Didn't like them. And I want to say it was about maybe a couple months into playing Splatoon 1, I had joined for those who remember Kick, a Kick chat or group chat that had started and trying to get better at Splatoon. And I was terrible. They dogged on me a lot, made fun of me, but it was all in overall pretty good fun. And some of them I'm actually still friends with to this day. About some point 2018, kind of going to 2019, I had started using motion controls a little bit, and I liked it more. It was a lot more simple. It was a lot more easy to get used to. Helped me get better. And from there, I took a break. Massive break. Wow, I didn't come back to Splatoon until, I want to say, 2021, where I kind of rebranded my online persona because I didn't have one. I was just kind of this kid or teenager, I should say, who shiny hunted and played Pokemon games and uploaded Pokemon content or Pokemon related content to my YouTube channel. Never streamed on Twitch, didn't have the equipment for it. Because I just didn't. I didn't have that kind of crazy interest in trying to do that because a lot of that stuff cost a lot of money. If you ever looked up into a capture card for Nintendo DS or 3DS, it's like a lot of money. And it's so funny because it was kind of like a quarter life crisis when that happened because I was at a job I didn't like. I was not really going anywhere in school because I had gone to college for a degree, but I didn't like the major, so I decided to change my major to something more general in order for me to just pass because I was originally going for graphic design. It's a passion of mine, and unfortunately, the classes at the college I went to just did not do it for me. It just made me despise it more, if anything. So with that being said, I also really didn't have much of a hobby. I was just kind of living. So I decided what's a game I can get good at, and what's a game I enjoy playing, competitively at least. And it was Splatoon. And I knew nothing about the competitive scene. I didn't know it existed. I just knew this game has maybe more to offer, and that's where I went. So from there, I was able to rebrand my channel to Glitch Cactus. I then had started uploading more content, streaming more consistently, and so funny, I have some of the videos still up on my channel, and you could see how small of a channel I used to be. I had a terrible looking graphic on my screen. I had, I think, 50 followers, and it's crazy to think how far I've come since then. Throughout my years in the Splatoon scene, I've mainly consistently stayed a competitive player since I started playing competitively in 2022. Um, Early 2022, I think at the end of 2021 is when I really started. Um, I had made content here and there, and then I kept pushing for just making YouTube videos or whatever I wanted, mainly montages. But then I started the Beginner's Guide series once I got more into competitive and realized I want to make more content that's fun. And that kind of skyrocketed me. It had, I think now if I take a look, a lot of those videos combined or individually anyway, have at least more than 20,000 views. Yeah, my beginner's guide to competitive Splatoon is 17,000 views. The guide to callouts about 3,000. The best sensitivity with players such as Dude, Kiver, Chara, you name it, has about 5,000. And yeah, I kind of paused out there when I did a beginner's guide to tournaments and a guide about gamer tilt, and I haven't really made another video since. Which, I'll probably go back eventually too, but for now, I was able to look into commentary when Ludi Tonight first started. Falco had put out the opportunity for newcomers to try it out. I tried it and I loved it, and I've had plenty of opportunities to commentate at events such as locals, lands, majors. Um, Online majors like the SQ major, just so much opportunity that really opened up the more I just kind of pushed myself. It's been a fun way all the way. So with that being said, that's me. That's what I currently do. That's what I have kind of went through. If you want to know my competitive journey, I started out on a team called Octotonics, which unfortunately had disbanded pretty much a month after I had joined, and it pretty much had formed because of scheduling issues. After that, I was kind of vacant for about a month in the comp scene, and then I had joined a team called Cephalosouls, who I'm pretty much still okay friends with most of the players from that team, or when they were a team, because they kind of just silently disbanded. And I still remember all the members. It was myself, of course, Ashik, Tanya, a player named Rubber. There was a player named Chibi, Chango, and I think Lilypad. We went by Lily. And I believe that was the whole roster that we kind of went through in my time there. I don't talk to a lot of those players too much anymore. Some of them, though, I still talk to every so often, but they were like a family to me. And it was my real breakthrough into the comp scene. They really showed me what it was like to have fun in the comp scene, have a good time, play great tournaments. And it was about a year in, or yeah, 6 months to a year in. I'm kind of forgetting the timeline for that. It's a little hazy. Forgive me, it was so long ago. Um, I wanted to do more. I wanted to play more. And around the time I was looking to leave the team, I had an opportunity thanks to my coach Devi Duvey. Some of you may know as the Hydra Mom. Was my coach. And they coached the Cephalosouls, they coached Octotonics, they actually coached Aquatic Vanguard. And it was through Devi who had reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to sub for his Div 5 team? And I was like, Div 5? I just realized I was talking for about 15 minutes. Could you all hear me that entire time? I hope you could have. I think maybe it just wasn't lighting up on the Discord, which is fine. Sorry. I just realized that I had Discord muted. Okay, I just had Discord muted. Sorry. I looked over and I saw the little thing lighting up on my screen. That's why I kept looking over. I'm like, what is flashing at me? So the bot just didn't really go off, and you couldn't see the flashing underneath me. But you could hear me. It's fine. All right. Anyway. Hopefully for the past 15 minutes you have been able to hear me. So as I was saying on track, I had subbed for Aquatic Vanguard, who at the time had OBT, Pock, Ike, Twig. And I think at that time that was all they had. So I subbed for them in a tournament called Friday Night Frenzy. And I was so scared. I was like, I'm divless, technically div 8 or 9, because they have Cephalosouls had beat teams around that skill level, and especially when I played with them, we were beating teams around that skill level when we played in low inks, little squid leagues, random tournaments. And I felt I did bad when I played in Friday Night Frenzy because I think we lost, but I still had fun. I am so thankful for the opportunity. So about a month or so goes by, I had became a free agent, and then I had gotten DM'd by Pac, who was pretty much the captain of Aquatic Vanguard, and they were like, "You want to try out?" I was like, "Me? Are you sure?" And they were like, "Yeah, let's try you out." And I tried out, and I enjoyed in their presence, they enjoyed mine. I was a decent player, and they were like, for someone who really doesn't have a div, you were mechanically gifted. Because back then I was mechanically gifted. Now I have to work for it. But back then, early onset, I was mechanically gifted, and I just didn't really know call outs, didn't really know shot calls, things like that. But it ended up going well, and they took me onto the team, and I was there I think for about a year or so, and then I had left, and then I had joined, I believe it was Persistence for a little bit. I'm just gonna try to speed this up for you guys. Then I believe I joined Persistence, and then I left Persistence, and I believe I joined Secret Elixir, and then from Secret Elixir onward, I think I joined EP Dreepy. EP Dreepy went to now no team, actually. Like I said, I just kind of focused pickups and projects. And right now I'm with my current project all the way up in Division 3 with the players I mentioned before. So, I'm really thankful for that I've gotten this far to Division 3. I have the ultimate goal of one day, reaching not top level, maybe high level, maybe Div 2-1 if I'm able to. I'd love to be able to compete against some of the greats and win a local, maybe place top 5 at a major. That'd be really nice. But that should be pretty much everything about some personal stuff. Unless, of course, some of the questions get into it. So actually, speaking of which, we're going to go into questions asked by you, the community. A lot of players did comment some questions into my Discord server I'm in. And my Discord server I have, if you ever want to check it out, just pretty much checking in my socials. I have it linked somewhere all over. But the first question I have is from CC, an active viewer in my Twitch streams, who says, "What's been your favorite thing about the Splatoon community as a comp player and creator?" And my answer to that question is honestly the kindness. It is so rare you're into a gaming community and everyone is just so kind. Online, offline, in person, I've never really ran into a bad apple, and if I have, I've been able to just distance myself away from them. I've done a pretty good job myself of staying away from most drama situations. Obviously, there's some that, will peek their way through, and I can't do much about it, but that's just how it is. But everyone is just so amazing. As a creator, too, it's been so nice to reach out to other players, especially top-level players and creators, when I've made certain videos, and they would say, "Absolutely, I'd love to help you out. What can I do?" And it's just been so much fun. Next, we're going to do a couple questions by Pixel. Pixel first asked, "How long do you think you'll be creating content for? Why or why not?" I think I have a couple years left in me to create content. I kind of plan to really dive into content when I retire from being a competitive player, which, if that's a future question, I'm going to hold off on answering that one. It's not. Okay, so I plan to retire under a certain couple of special circumstances. The first one is I want to win a local and place top 5 at a major. It could be online major or it could be in-person major, but that's my goal, and that's when I will plan to retire as a comp player, is when I'm able to win a local and place that highly in a major. Probably more likely to happen on a LAN, like a LAN major, just because, at least there, it's, it's a lot more different than online majors where you get the top players from all over the world, really, or at least from the Western scene. But with that being said, I plan to make content for as long as this game goes on, or at least until, something comes up and I just can't anymore. I do have a couple other video ideas I have in the woodworks that I would really like to keep making and stuff, but sometimes it gets in the way. But, content is something I just like to do as a hobby. You know what I mean? It's not like obviously my job. It's kind of difficult for it to become it, but, it'd be really fun to just keep making content. Next Pixel asks, will there be a Blue Pro Chara in New York City Part 2 Electric Boogaloo? No. No. I made a post on social media on Twitter the other day, a couple weeks ago, about what if I did it again. I can't. I can't. I don't know how I can access it, but basically the app that you have to do it through, unfortunately, does not allow me to access my account anymore. And I cannot make an account unless maybe I made a random email, but I have tried and it says it needs a verification code and it does not send me the verification email. It's not in my spam folder. It is not in my garbage folder. It is not in my regular folder or mail. It's nowhere. I can't access it. So unfortunately, Blue Chara Part 2 is never going to happen unless somehow that company fixes the app and I can access it again. So I saved $40 from my pocket. Pixel says in the Twitch chat, you kept that question. Yes, I did. I had to. What's a video idea you want to do but haven't done yet? Oh, man. There's plenty. I actually have multiple Google Docs written of scripts of series ideas I would love to do, but I haven't done. And one of those is a one-trick series where I take players in the scene that one-trick weapons and always have, maybe like Len for blasters or Irito, who means bow, and to kind of ask a bunch of questions and just kind of shine the spotlight on them as players who one-trick weapons. Unfortunately, though, that is a very time-consuming type of video and series. So I have it on the far, far back burner as something maybe I will never do. I mean, if someone else is watching and you wish to take that idea, by all means, feel free. It is just something that for me is kind of difficult to do right now. Something else I really want to do is I want to recreate the Beginner's Guide series on YouTube because there's a lot of stuff that I feel like has been updated and can get fixed, but it is also extremely time consuming. I am very good at videos that are long form and informational, but it just takes so much time, and I don't have that much time sometimes. I really don't. Pixel then says, watch me whip, watch me nay nay. Sure, if you come up to me at a local or a LAN and you whip or nay nay in front of me, I'll give you a round of applause. Oh my gosh. Cactus merch. This was one I've actually been asked a handful of times in either Twitch comment or Twitch streams or YouTube comments, and or even just personally at LANs, like, oh, would you make more merch? Because all I have right now, obviously, I have my custom jersey I made. I had to rep it, obviously. I have my pins, I have business cards, but I don't really have merch. And the reason why is because I'm not big enough for merch. Some of these other creators have, hundreds of thousands of followers. They have, nearing hundreds of thousands of subscribers on, YouTube and Twitch. And I don't want to make merch, especially if it's very costly, to a smaller audience. Because it's a lot harder to pretty much break even when you do that. So that being said, no merch. Aureus is up next and asks a couple questions. The first one they ask is, what is your favorite memory of Splatoon and or comp? My favorite memory, I would say, has to be my first major I went to. I believe it was Riptide 2022. And I remember grand finals and how exhilarating it was. Just being able to sit there and watch and just in awe of the excitement, the energy, the crowd. Like, it was incredible. That's in person. I would say online, my favorite memory. probably when I made my first real Splatoon video that popped off. It was Splatoon players react to missiles returning, and that video did like 20,000 views. I mean, it was incredible. I just remember making that video, uploading it, and it just skyrocketing in views and just constantly doing well, and it was so much fun to watch. If you want to speak competitively online, I would say one of my favorite memories was being on Cephalous Souls, a Division 8-9 team, my first real Splatoon team I was on, because we had so much fun all the time, and we had silly like PBs, and we just goofed off, and I mean, we always made things memorable, and I will always thank them for that, and always cherish those players and the memories we've created together. What's a weapon you always thought about or wanted to push but never did? That's a great question, actually, by Aureus. So, a weapon I've always wanted to push or thought about pushing was Blaster. I liked Blaster in S2. I played it here and there as just like for fun, and I just really liked the mechanics of it and the thought process of how the weapon worked, but I just couldn't bring myself to push it. It plays very difficult. My mechanics aren't the best. I have sometimes a very natural jitter. It really just depends. And sometimes I can't like flick in certain ways that Blaster needs, or my aim could be a little shaky, and I'm always changing sensitivity because of that fact. I try to stay consistent, but sometimes I tweak things here and there, or I just deal with it. What was the original idea behind Kermit? So, I love this question. Kermit wasn't even originally going to be an idea that wasn't even a thought process in my mind. What came to fruition for Kermit was, for those who know, there's a player out there named JoJo on the West Coast who helps run SoCali. And they are known for their Kermit plush that they have in person, and have the, I'm Kermit the Frog, hello. And I remember I was in a VC with friends once, and like I was just, doing the voice, and they were like, "Oh, you have a pretty good Kermit." So what I had went and done was pretty much went up to JoJo at a LAN. I think it was a major, it was LTC or Riptide, either 2022 or 2023. And I just remember being like, "Oh my gosh, like, is that Kermit the Frog?" And he was like, "Hi, yeah, I'm Kermit the Frog." And I was like, "No way, because I'm also Kermit the Frog." Oh my god, it was just such a funny moment. And from there, I just kind of wanted to be a part of a bit. I just thought it'd be really fun to have a little bit I bring with me, and I could not imagine how big it has gotten. Like, if you told me back then I'd one day be wearing a Kermit suit to LANs, dude, younger me would not believe you. So, Kermit the Frog just kind of went as a funny idea, and a fun little gag, to now being kind of a part of the brand. I mean, Kermit's got his own Twitter account, Kermit. I think Kermit SPL or Kermit _ SPL. I bring Kermit pretty much to every major I go to, every local I go to. Kermit just is along for the ride. What's your favorite event or tourney that you've been a part of either participating or commentating? I would say my favorite event that I played in was Low-Ink with Aquatic Vanguard when we won Beta Bracket and Gamma Bracket. Those were really big highlights for me, because that was my first time I ever actually won a tournament, and it was just an exhilarating feeling. I love the feeling of winning a tournament, being better than the other team. For that, just getting everything playing right in those cards, especially when you're low level, man, because when you're low level, things just feel so much more rewarding, because like you're trying your hardest to get good, and everyone else is getting good, and it's such a huge group of people that narrowly shrinks down into this little top pyramid at the end. And that was always, really, really fun. Commentating, I think my favorite commentary moment was Grand Finals Gridlock 1 in New York City. Because that day, not only did Blue Chara first appear on the billboard, but I got to commentate with Vic Vian and Magic 8 Ball, who both are incredible individuals. I love them both dearly. They are great people, and I'm so glad I get to be friends with both of them. Um, Magic, I don't talk to too often, but I know Magic is doing well. I do follow them on Blue Sky, and Vic is in Japan right now, and I play with Vic at all the Big Dapple and New York events. Most of them anyway. But that was just an exhilarating commentary moment. I nothing will beat that. The energy was ecstatic. The crowd was lightning. I mean, those words don't make sense together the way I worded them, but you know what I mean. It was just unbelievable. Best LAN memory. I'm just gonna tie that one together. They're tied together. That was just beautiful. Ezio asks a couple questions. Ezio asks, if Splatoon wasn't your main game, what would it be? Pokemon. If you go back to my channel, you go back far enough, you will see that I used to make Pokemon content. If Splatoon was never a thing, I am 100% confident I would have been a Pokemon YouTuber. I might one day go back to making Pokemon content with Splatoon, but until that day, yeah, we're here. What's your favorite thing to do in the Splatoon community? Is it commentating, competing, podcasting, etc.? I love it all, personally. And one thing I always want to say to people when they're trying to get into different things, especially if they start as a competitive player and they've been going forward, is really hone in on one thing for a bit. For me, I really honed in on competitive play. Then I honed in on content for a bit. And then I honed in on commentary for a while. And then I kind of rotated back to content, then competitive. And I'm just really focusing areas of my efforts in the Splatoon scene. You can't do it all. You really can't. And for anyone watching this says, yes, I can, you're going to burn out. Trust me, as someone who has burned out and didn't make content for almost a year once, and then just kind of drowned down the competitive scene and then really didn't commentate, it could be a lot. Just make sure you're pacing yourself. Would you ever consider making a LAN? Why or why not? And if so, where? I wouldn't. I don't think I would. If I did, it would probably be my home state, New Jersey. But I have no reason to want to make a LAN, especially because the New York LAN is 2 hours away from me. There's no reason for a New Jersey LAN or local, just because of the fact that New York's right there. JB asks, what was your favorite major LAN experience and your favorite local LAN experience? Getting into nitty gritty here. I don't know what you count Gridlock. Is that a major? Is that a regional? Because it's a 2-day, so it's like a major, but it's also really small to the extent of what it is. So it's technically like a regional. I don't know what you call it, but I would say my favorite. I'd say favorite local LAN experience is, of course, Big Dapple. I think it was my first Big Dapple experience. I teamed up with 3 individuals, and we had a blast. I'm trying to remember who they were. I know one was Bolivia. I don't remember. My brain is blanking on the other 2, but it was my first local experience, and I just had such a fun time playing with them and having fun and seeing what I wanted to do at a local and what a local was like. It was amazing. And then major LAN experience, I would say it's just repeatedly grand finals at majors. I think LTC 2023 was truly aspiring because of just that was when a lot of like really good players came down together and we had a really good experience overall, and it was just hype the whole way. JV then asked, when is Costco stream part 2? For those who don't know, I stream every single day of the year, or I'm trying to anyway, and I live streamed in person off of my phone, and we streamed at a Costco, and that was really funny and really fun. So it'll happen again someday, maybe. I just don't know when. And honestly, that's really all the questions that people had for me. But I do want to take this opportunity to, one, of course, offer the chat right now to ask any questions, but also discuss some other questions that I wrote down that I think would be good to ask, or that I want to go over, especially because now we have been 1 full year of the podcast. So, number one, what does the future of the podcast look like? Talk about that. Let's take you through how the podcast even began. Pinky from Dapple Productions had reached out to me and offered if I wanted to make a podcast. And I was like, whoa. What? Little me? And I did not want to say no to the opportunity because I thought it was really cool. So I had decided to say yes. And we brainstormed a while what the name would be. I had some friends help me out, pick one name, and we ended up on the Cactus Patch. For those who maybe have in your local state local news, sometimes they call it like the New York Patch, the, I don't know, Oregon Patch. A patch is also like the name just of like I guess like a dispatch, and they just feed you information, but also it's just also like a patch, like Sour Patch Kids, a cactus patch. And I thought it was a really good and fun play on words, so I went with it. Pinky helped design pretty much all the graphics you see and the logo, and it came out really nice. I love it. The one thing I wanted to do when it came to the podcast, though, was be unique. Because obviously, we all know the Popcast. Popgun. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Thank you for being here, unless I don't. You know what I mean? Like, no dig at Popgun. But we all know the classic Popcast, Popgun, running that show for so long, and has recently, within the past couple months, went over on IPL Productions rather than his own channel. So with that being said, I want it to be different. Because Popgun just kind of comes on, talks about a handful of topics that are currently going on in the scene, whether it's tournaments or major events. And I didn't mind that. I thought that was cool. But I wanted to be different than that. I didn't want to look like a carbon copy. So I thought, what if I had a special guest every single episode I did? And I did remember talking to Pinky about this in DMs. And I was like, hey, what if, in case I can't find a guest, we have an option where you can show like the Twitch chat or something. And I think we do have that access somewhere. I think I do have access to that, but I don't know where it is. I always forget. I haven't used it ever, so it's okay. So thinking of podcast episodes, we go into the new year of 2024, and I really didn't know what I would want to do for the first episode. And then Genesis X happens, and Splatoon's back at Genesis. Wait a minute. What if I interviewed the winners of Genesis X? And thus the first episode of the Cactus Patch was born, and that has led us to 29 incredible episodes. Some longer than others, some shorter. But basically, I took it as an opportunity to talk to people in the scene. I've talked to Magic, Stormy, Ren, multiple local teams that have won events, major teams that have won major events. The 20XX League, I was able to do a special podcast episode with the captains of the teams that qualified, and then also I believe I had 9 K-Bot and Popgun on to discuss just the league overall, and at the time the upcoming finale. And now here I am by myself, which brings me to today to discuss the future of the podcast. What does the future look like? Well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep bringing on guests for every episode. But I think every once in a while, I'm going to do an individual episode of just myself. I'm going to come on to the podcast, and we're just going to talk, discuss whatever's going on in the scene currently, whatever major events might be happening. Obviously, we have Ludi going on right now, so there's an opportunity to maybe talk about the event, cover teams, etc. But I want to really give an opportunity to just it be you and me, chat. It's just us together, and we're just discussing the event and having a good time. Besides that, of course, the podcast is still running. We're going to keep going for as long as possible. whether until either I can or Dapple can or something happens. But we're gonna keep going. But with that all being said, that's pretty much all I have for today's episode of the podcast. I don't have much more questions that need to be asked and much more to go over. That pretty much is what the future's gonna hold. I will get Popgun on a podcast. Oh my gosh. Popgun, if you're listening, if you're watching this, I will have you on, I swear. Just give me a little bit of time. Ludi's still going on. I'll have you on for Ludi. You called me out because the CCA is having you on before I do. I got it. You're gonna come on. You're gonna come on the podcast. Don't worry. I've been on yours multiple times. Let's make sure we get you on here. Maybe we'll talk about you. Maybe we'll talk about the podcast in general. Wouldn't that be fun? With that being said, though, that is going to be it for this episode of the podcast. I want to, of course, thank you all so much for coming in, tuning out for not just this episode, but every previous one that you may have been here or every future episode that might come across your followed page. Of course, the VODs are always posted on YouTube, on my channel, and Dapple, so feel free to check out the VODs if you wish to. I want to give a huge thank you to Dapple Productions, Alice, and Pinky for giving me the opportunity to, of course, run this podcast and helping me out all the time. They are the GOATs. Make sure to show them love and appreciation. Thank your TOs. Thank your staff, or whatever it is. You could find me at all my socials at Glitch Cactus. Twitch is the only different one. It's at Glitch Cactus 1. I'm on TikTok. I don't really use it though. Blue Sky, YouTube, Twitters, of course Twitch, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Cactus Patch. I have been your host, Cactus, and we will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.